is quite clearly the highest he's ever gotten in any kind of competitive league or tournament in Hearthstone. By far the most notoriety he has taken on as well.
It looks like while we don't have the bans on the graphic quite yet, they have been locked, at least on our sheet here. Tom's Warrior banned away, which is to be expected. Bankyugi's been consistently banning Warrior, but Tom is getting rid of Bankyugi's Druid, which is perhaps, the class that is capable of the biggest power spike in a single turn, but it doesn't do so that consistently compared to before. So I'm actually kind of surprised by this ban from Tom.
Me too. It makes way for a good matchup on the Demon Hunter, quite undeniably as the worst matchup for Demon Hunter. But the Secret Rogue, you'd kind of like to go into Druid. Honestly, I think Mage is favored at the moment against Druid, since we've seen the nerf from Guardian Animals going from 7 to 8. But we're not going to get to see it this time. We're instead going to have Bankyugi on the Mage, Rogue, and Priest, and Tom on the Mage, Rogue, and Demon Hunter. And starting things off here, Gia, with the Demon Hunter up against the Priest here, it's not the best of starts for tom60229 to start going with, and a pretty good start for Bankyugi, in all honesty.
It's really not. This is all the reactive cards for Tom, and none of the proactive ones. Okay, he picked up one Mage. That's pretty good, but I wonder if he just goes for Soul Shear this turn because he has two of them.
I think that's where my head is at. I think that this 2-2 on board is more likely to be useful as a minion next turn, after you've already got the value of clearing off the minion. You can actually start attacking face with your one maker.
I do like that he just cycles the Consume Magic. He has the natural one in hand already, and his hand is in desperate need for something proactive to do.
Yeah.
Let's pick up the Mana Feeder Panthera, but I was unsure if that was going to be the play compared to this Consume Magic Soul Shear. I suppose it all just fits with hero power anyway.
Yeah, works out very, very cleanly. Bankyugi on the other side, sorry, it was kind of a weird spot where he'd seen one Dispel Magic come off the one maker, which in a way makes you more likely to expect that the second one is in hand. But either way, I still absolutely agree with throwing it down, because he gets the guaranteed resurrection on the following turn with the Raised Dead, which is so powerful.
Yeah, it's insane. Tom's already out of the convenient answers to these Twilight Drakes, and a lot of the time I talk about how good Priest players approach this matchup from a very patient point of view, where they hold on to Pyroapotheosis and swing the board way back towards the end. But if you can have this opportunity to grasp the board from the very beginning and never even let your health total get down too low, that is the cherry on top. Some ways, it's kind of thankful that Tom has these Soul Shears to respond.
It's a big deal to start locking down this board, because otherwise you'd be entering the fear territory of when you start going face and then pray they don't have the Apotheosis. As soon as they find it, they stick it on the Twilight Drake, and things just start going disastrously wrong.
Bankyugi, while the Cobalt Spellkin looked like a simple curve play, it would have meant that he would overdraw, so it looks like he's just going to start with the Cleric and then coin out the Spellkin.
I think with Raised Dead, though, don't you just take another Twilight Drake here? If one wasn't enough, two wasn't enough, third time's the charm.
I mean, it was offered, so absolutely. If Raised Dead were not there, I think he was going to go for the coin Cobalt, but oh my goodness, this is backbreaking for Tom. It challenges the Glaive Bound really cleanly.
Yeah, like, you don't even want to be pre-syncing the damage into it with Glaive Bound save, because then obviously hero power, but also Renew is a massive punish at that point.
Yeah. Tom is just gonna send it face. I was looking at the potential for maybe just trying to go for Shard Shatter and pre-equip a weapon, but then again, he didn't even have a big attack buff to make the Blade Dance happen cleanly at the end of this, and Bankyugi should be perfectly happy to just continue developing. He can take the trade, take hero power, and be on his merry way.
Is this really it? I wanted to go Wave of Apathy, coin Cabal Shadow Priest this turn. That felt like a huge amount of pressure that you were pushing back towards your opponent this turn.
I was suggesting the least pressure line. Bankyugi goes for the middle ground, where he does still put a minion on board, holds onto the coin. I can only assume that he is holding coin for just more flexibility later on.
Those were some big draws, though, for tom60229. With a couple of attack buffs here, he could set up for a huge Blade Dance, but he's just playing out the Chaos Strike here. I find that very surprising.
Me too, but it looks like Tom has one plan and one plan only, which is just put them on not having Apotheosis, or even if they do have it, just try and power through.
Yeah, I still disagree, though, I think, because you can just play it for 0 mana next turn with the Blade Dance.
Me too. The only thing he misses is like one charge off of the Eldraki and the heal.
Sure,
which
sure.
you can get. Marginal difference, but oh my goodness, double renew from this Cobalt Falcon?
Yep, that is insane. I guess Thought Steal, yeah, maybe you can find some kind of extra healing from your opponent's deck.
I'm gonna coin the other one so he doesn't overdraw. Sure, Draconic Studies instead. Falcon, or do you take the hunt?
He's just taking more healing.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely the only thing he needs here. If you really needed a taunt, he has the Cabal Acolyte, and hand space isn't that big of an issue because he can toss a Circle of Healing.
To be fair to Tom, on this turn, while we were critical of him going for the Chaos Strike last turn, he can set up still for a 100% clear on this turn. With Chaos Strike, Hero Power, plus the Blade Dance, it's very, very clean. So not begrudging him too much, because he does get that little bit of extra healing on that turn with the Eldraki Warblade. So it works out pretty much equal either way.
Bankyugi down to 12. Does still need a lot more healing. Start with the Circle and go for the Cobalt Falcons, but he has seen all of the Skull cards, so this could have been a turn taken off from healing if he decided to go for a board development plan instead, but players are taking almost no time to think about their turn.
Yeah, I mean, this does kind of still go for the board development plan, because there wasn't that much that could have been done to get extra healing in instead.
I think it's fine to even fit in the hero power here just to milk it, but okay.
Oh my god, it's penance.
Yeah, I'm taking that and just chucking Inner Fire on this so he doesn't overdraw.
Our line was kind of slow, but he is quite clearly all in on the plan of getting maximum healing every single turn.
Yeah. I guess he's just trying to make the most room for Cobalt Falcon on the next turn too, which is definitely warranted. Tom has Militia, but only 2 fragments in the deck currently, so he's just gonna keep looking for something else to do. Granted, there were the Jailers into Militia as a plan, but I don't think he even wants to bother wasting time into a potential Soul Mirror. He just wants damage.
Oh my god, he's still just going for the pure damage plan. Like, Bankyugi is healed, what is it, 9 or 12 at this point off of just purely renews, which is absolutely insane. And it still doesn't stop yet.
Oh, there's an Apotheosis.
That's the one.
Your mind is
so big here. Tom's used his silence effect already. He's already used 1 Wand Maker. There's still one in the deck that can possibly generate it, but it's also just 1 Blade Dance left and a lot of the attack buffers used. So it looks like he's going to have to get through the 7-8 the hard way or leave it up. Both of them seem like losses.
Yeah, I think this is just wrapping things up now for Tom. I don't think he has enough value in the deck anymore to be able to come back against this one. Like, even with Shard Shatter into Militia, which is a strong turn, he can put forward a lot of 3/3s. It likely just gets eaten up by Bankyugi too easily.
I don't know. In this exact situation, a fair amount of them could stick here. Like, Bankyugi will go up to full, but currently there's 5 fragments in the deck. He can eat up 1 and then end up with 4 rushers here, and two of them die after the trades. So you still end up with a 5/5, 2 3/3s, and a 3/2. That's a big board.
That's not bad. That's true.
Oh, he's not going to Shatter Shard though. It's like he's just ignoring the 7/8. Which, if you think the game is going to end in the next turn, then it's reasonable to just let them have the 7 healing.
Huh. This feels like he just ends up with a weaker board.
I agree. You hold on to a Shard Shatter, but at this point, you don't even want to play it because you're trying to stick the board.
Right, right. Like, you lose one soul fragment, but the benefit you get instead just felt drastically worth it, in my opinion.
I agree. Felt extremely weird.
On wings of destruction they come.
Okay. Apotheosis, there's Wave of Apathy as well. And the steal on the Militia. Not that Bankyugi even needs much healing.
Let me change your mind.
Now,
The way this game panned out for Tom was so inelegant. It's not to say that it's wrong, but he was very much just trying to batter down the walls with
Right.
a steel pole. And it didn't quite work.
so trade, shard shatter. It's not very clean. You can clear the board with glaive bound, I suppose, if you wanted to go about it that way.
Seems like the only chance because
Yeah.
the minion, the weapon damage just doesn't get there, given how much Bankyugi has healed.
I guess this was part of his thinking by saving the shard shatter, is that he would be able to respond to whatever Bankyugi did on the following turn.
I assume so. But if he puts himself in a responding position, it very much feels like he doesn't have that sliver of an out of trying to just stick that one board last turn and try for the lethal. It's too much healing.
It is too much healing. There's, I guess, Gift of Luminance is what you're looking at, just to, like, get more stuff on the board, and then go with Wave of Apathy.
Sure. He can even start with Thought Steal if he thinks that, you know, getting a
I
Marrow
guess.
Slicer in the near future as Bankyugi is not too bad at all.
That's a fair point.
Inner Fire, Gift of Luminance, Holy Smite, the 3-2. It's also winning.
It is all winning.
A simple spell should do.
Yeah, ordering it that way because...
Because why not?
Because why not? Exactly. Still looking very good here for Bankyugi. Tom does get to swing face with a minion, which I honestly thought would not happen at this point. And with Soul Shard, this is a lot of damage. I just don't know if it's going to be enough damage. Bankyugi has just healed for a breathtaking amount of health this game.
Yep. I mean, Tom is very much just hoping, please don't let the second Apotheosis be there.
Yeah.
Spoiler, it's there.
Oh, Soul Mirror is insane as well, just as the perfect cherry on the cake.
Bankyugi going for Gift of Luminance last turn. Probably just strictly superior to Thought Steal to give him the best odds of making sure he has a Apotheosis target.
Militia's gone. Soul Mirror is not going to get anywhere near as good as this in the future. Throw it down. Throw down the Apotheosis. Put Tom out of his misery.
Oh, Tom is really frustrated, but just how it goes against Priest sometimes.
It's brutal, isn't it? Because he got a pretty good hand. Like, he dealt so much damage this game. The fact that Bankyugi is at 20 is insane.
Guaranteed Skull, but the last 3 real cards are after this Kane, Soul Shard, Lapidary Blade Dance, Twin Slice, and nothing deals with the 7-8 without having to face tank it. He really had to get Consume Magic off of this one maker into next turn top deck Skull to have a chance.
That's true, yeah, I guess that was the out. I mean, the real out was there not being a second Apotheosis in hand. Then maybe we could talk about there being possibilities. No longer anything for Bankyugi. He's just gonna, I guess, take a couple of soul fragments here, most likely, which are pretty good as well, just for more healing.
Honestly, if the Skull had given him Twin Slice Blade Dance, we could be in business too, if the Cobalt Falcon did not also have Divine Shield. So that Gift of Luminance is more clutch than it looked.
Not many cards left. I am out of cards.
One Twin Slice, and that is the whole deck that Tom has.
Hide behind yourselves. I will still fight.
Yeah, Soul Shard Lapidary not even active yet. He has to do it on the same turn as Marrow Slicer for it to ever be active again.
This is just a Blade Dance turn.
Yeah.
Can't let that 7-8 live any longer. And the out is just hoping that Bankyugi's hand is complete garbage, which, to be fair, It's healing, but there's not necessarily an answer for the Lapidary next turn just yet.
Right, and the Mara Slicer Soul Fragments in the deck do somewhat offset the damage that Fatigue is going to do. I just still don't think it's enough. As admirable
I
as a
don't
job
think so.
as Tom's done, it's not going to get there.
Even if it's 9 mana to remove a Lapidary, that works. But obviously, you could take Forbidden Words, and Tom can pack the shop as soon as he sees his Lapidary get removed.
I mean, do we not want to draw a card off Soul Fragment here? Yeah.
I don't think it draws you a card when you actually cast it.
Oh, does it just... Oh, okay, sorry, my mistake. Oh yeah, the Past When Dawn thing draws you a card. There.
Such a beautiful
Honestly, even though Bankyugi takes this game, it's staggering the amount of damage Demon Hunter can put together. When you see the entirety of the deck, Bankyugi's healed to full like 3 times this game. I feel like Tom's dealt nearly 80 damage.
Yeah, I mean, I want an official count on how much he's done here, because this is absolutely incredible here, the amount he's done. Still not going to be enough because of like 5 renews, 2 apotheosis over the course of the game, but it does mean Bankyugi, our underdog, takes the first win of the Grand Finals. 2 wins away now from going the full distance, and it's not the biggest of wins quite yet. I still think the Highlander Rogue is going to be the tough spot for him, but getting a win with the Priest, leaving only Mage and Rogue behind, it's a great way to start things off.
Yep. I might be biased, but looking at Bankyugi's lineup, I definitely feel like the Druid and the Rogue are the question mark. So if I were Tom, I wish I would have had the Druid up to maybe just see that as a potential weak link, but very much possible that also Tom has done enough testing against this type of Druid and still finds it strong enough despite the Guardian Animals moving up a mana. To be fair to Bankyugi, he definitely has proven that Highlander Rogue has its strong points, though. But again, my complaint about the deck is that it seems to just win more in situations where Burgle Rogue might already be winning, and in certain situations where it needs to come back, it doesn't have the consistency to do so.
Yeah, that's right. When we were talking to RDU a little bit about this, or the European casters who relayed the information over to us, they were talking about how it felt, RDU felt like it was better against the Mage and better against the Secret Rogue to go for Highlander Rogue over Secret Rogue. I don't believe that the testing we did reflected that necessarily, but at least maybe the thought process for Bankyugi is there, that he's got himself some good matchups there. And I mean, I'm sure if we asked him, he would very possibly say the Highlander Rogue is in a good spot to take a win. It's just the inconsistency of the deck. If you don't hit those powerful early turns to keep up, you can fall behind irreparably for the rest of the game.
It just begs the question, if Highlander Priest, which was already considered a high-tier deck, has fallen by the wayside in favor of the more optimized Priest, does it run into the same problems as Highlander Rogue? And we have seen a fair amount of Highlander Priest earlier this week, and I think Blitzchung was bringing it, and the same problems did seem to arise, is that when you don't hit the big value in the mid-game, you can enter these windows where there's just nothing to do, and your opponent can pretty easily abuse that. Whereas when you do hit the value, it feels like superfluous almost. We'll talk about that later, though, because it is going to be the 50-50 matchup.
Right, exactly. The one that you and I have been going back and forth on over and over. You are... I can feel you creeping towards the dark side. I feel the hate flow within you, Gia, as you're wanting to say Mage is just favored against Demon Hunter, which I don't think you've quite been able to cross over to yet, but we'll see for next season. I do think right now, though, if Bankyugi can get this win in what is perceived to be, at the very least, an unfavorable matchup for the Mage, he is in such a good position to be our second representative going through to the World Championships.
He's got a spicy hand to start with. The Primordial Studies lands the lab partner. He has Solarian the next turn and Cram Session, probably for at least 1 extra draw. Very, very nice. But Tom, I do like the Skull Far Left keep. Now that I've seen the matchup pan out more and more often, I have no more questions left about whether you should keep that against Mage in a nice outcast position.
Just standard gameplay as well from Bankyugi. This is the way you play this hand. You get this kind of stuff very often. You don't go for Cram Session on 2 because even if they kill one of your spell damage minions, you're still going to get the 2 draw. And if they can't kill it, 3 is absolutely insane.
Yeah, if you've not seen a Spirit Jailer on the other side on 1, they can't have the Shard Shatter Mystic this early, so it's just optimizing the damage he gets, which is a very big deal because Mage also just wants to race down the Demon Hunter in very many situations. Apprentice is in hand, Jandis for turn 5.
This is speeding up. This is definitely going somewhere right now for Bankyugi. Tom's hand, while no slouch, it's a little bit awkward right now. None of the shufflers have come through yet, so he's unable to get Lapidary on 5. That Spirit Jailer, though, massively helps this. Now he's got that strong turn 5 play and can try and start threatening some damage.
Yeah, it's huge. We're entering the calm before the storm now because Bankyugi's taking a slow turn with the Wand Maker. Tom's gonna take a slow turn with the Spirit Jailer, but after that we're gonna see the power 5 drops come down on both sides. Nice pickup for Tom to keep the cycle going because he didn't have much else to do outside of Spirit Jailer this turn. Perfect pickup now.
Yeah, very nice couple of turns. Ooh, and a question mark at the end of this turn. Turn 5 for Mage is a big one. Both Jandis and Raz are power plays, but it deactivates his Soul Shard for the following turn.
That's so huge from Tom. I honestly would not have made that play because it makes his next turn very awkward as well, but Tom might just be saying here, giving up my turn 5 is worth it to make Bankyugi's turn 5 awkward. I don't know whether that's correct or not, but it will have big implications for the rest of the game.
Massive implications. And it looked for a second like he was just going to slam 5-5. I don't know if he didn't realize if there weren't any fragments in the deck or was just thinking 5-5 is good enough.
Oh, it certainly feels like that. I mean, okay, I don't think Tom would miss something like that, but man, oh man, the mana burn was played really quickly.
Yeah. Well, he
Get
definitely
behind
realizes.
a tempo minion here because minion on board while Mage is going to try and respond can oftentimes just net you the battle cry damage that you missed.
Perfect opportunity there now, though, for Bankyugi. With the 1 mana left over, he can fit in the Ray of Frost. I guess you put this on Malagos just because the taunt can then protect the rest of your minions.
It's also just the lower attack minion.
Sure.
I think it's fine. Skull time
It's powerful,
right now.
but it's slow.
Tom has fallen behind due to the Jandis, so I think we're looking for Shard Shatters. We're looking for Blade Dance too.
That is one hell of a card to find, though, for
Oh
Bankyugi.
my.
This hand is popping off now. Mana Giant being found is huge. Shenvala being found is huge as well.
I think this is a Cyclone turn instead of Shenvala.
Okay.
Because he already has the big board. Another 5/5 feels like it loses to the same thing this board already loses to, which is Shard Shatter plus Blade Dance. So
Okay.
I like having the insurance policy of the regenerated spells for Bankyugi. Also just help the Giant get even cheaper.
Get some pretty good ones as well. Double Ray of Frost could just come down right here to make Mana Giant even cheaper for the following turn.
It was close. In the end, I think he's holding it for Shenvala.
Uh-huh. Fair.
Oh man, Skull is trapped. Because the Chaos Strike is gonna keep drawing.
We're looking for Soul Shard. Oh, the Destroyer there is absolutely huge. Being
Yeah.
able to clear off this board, that is the card that Tom needed. Oh my goodness.
This power is
Gets to live another day, but Bankyugi has a refill.
This is such a close one. Shard Shatter, absolutely mammoth there to be found. Apprentice again, but not that much that can go with it quite yet. Do you still just play
Right,
it?
I think might just be Shenvala Combustion Double Ray, not that order.
Right.
just one activation on the Shenvala.
Does that activate your Giant? I'm looking if there's any way you can get down a powerful turn plus Giant, because if you go Water
Well, there's
Elemental...
Combustion and Giant, and just call that a day.
Right.
That's fine.
Water Ellie, Double Ray... You can go Water Elemental, Double Ray of Frost plus Mana Giant. I believe that would be just playable, which is quite a strong push onto the board.
Doesn't the Giant go down to 3? So it's 1 mana.
But the Water Elite, like all 3 of those cards
Oh,
are
sorry, it's
generated,
generated.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, that seems really strong. Wow, he's holding Giant all together.
I don't know if I can agree with this line.
The usage of Raise plus Giant, if there is the Blade Dance to follow up, you kind of feel bad about because the Shenvala does get very difficult to use.
Right.
But this does feel like quite a slow line.
Instantly drawing the fragments does feel bad here.
Such a beautiful
Hey though, Lapidary still active. Doesn't need to face tank the freeze, which is a huge deal because that means this Marrow Slicer next turn is free to go face. 2 Twin Slices in hand. Bankyugi is in major trouble.
He is. He's got the line of Apprentice, Shenvala.
Shenvala. Ocean?
Right, or like Double Ray Fireball. No, not enough mana there. There is enough mana, and then he can fit in Giant as well.
Yeah, he just can't activate even a copied Shenvala this turn. Because there's just... if he had one more 1-mana spell, I think it all fits.
Well, I mean, he can go Apprentice, Shenvala, Double Ray of Frost plus Fireball, right? That gives him the activation he needs.
Yeah, he can activate Shenvala, for sure. I was just trying to think if there is a way of copying Shenvala, playing the 1-mana Shenvala, and activating that one too. But
right, okay. You were next level breeding on me. I didn't even realize.
Sorry. I mean, probably just ends up on a Giant turn. I think I still would have wanted to see Shenvala, Apprentice, and Giant. And again, it feels like Bankyugi still needs an evocation to really get there, so solo Giant I don't hate as well.
This is like so low tempo.
Wow.
It's staggering. Like, I know he's afraid of the Chaos Strike here, and he's setting up for that one big turn. Is it worth it, though?
I'm gonna go ahead and say no, unless he top decks something very, very special next turn, which is Conjurer's Calling. And, you know, from Bankyugi's perspective, after seeing that many cards drawn, he probably has put together a strong read on a big Blade Dance, so he could just be thinking, I'm Conj to actually win the game, instead of, you know, delaying my loss for one more turn. But there's absolutely no time now. Tom is almost certainly going to have lethal if Bankyugi doesn't go off now. But Tom still will have the lethal.
This is what he's been setting up for, right? I thought he would be going for the immediate copying of Shenvala back to his hand to try and get another one in play. Maybe saving that for the end, though. Fair enough. Is this worth it, though, is the question. He gets a whole bunch of stuff back to his hand, but what does it really do right now?
Not much. I mean, with this play out, it obviously looked like Bankyugi was just waiting for nothing. But again, I do feel like he felt that if there was this board last turn, it would have gotten Blade Dance, and he was just trying to hold out for Conjurer's Calling as long as possible to try and land Walking Fountain, something of that degree, to make sure that he could also heal back up. That is going to be a very, very simple lethal for Tom. And we are now at a tied series.
Absolutely massive win there for Tom. If he'd taken that loss, I think we could have just been already basically celebrating Bankyugi as the victor. It would have been so difficult to get the 3-0 sweep on the other side against the Rogue. But now Tom taking the win there. The Demon Hunter was looking a little bit shaky. Mage and Rogue both needing to take a win for Bankyugi. And I believe Mage and Rogue needing to take a win for Tom as well, actually, on the other side.
I don't know, Dark. Even if Bankyugi did manage to take that one, I wouldn't count Tom out yet because he is the veteran of premature confetti and celebration on the other side, and he did still win the World Championship on a reverse sweep. But he's definitely on better footing for this series with, as you said, the same classes remaining for either player.
Yeah, slightly different archetypes, though, obviously, with the big difference being the classic, more popular Secret Rogue for tom60229 versus the very much outsider pick of the Highlander Rogue for Bankyugi. I think there's honestly a reason why the Secret Rogue is so much more popular. I don't think that everyone in the community is missing a huge trick with Highlander Rogue. there's definitely something to be gained for the Highlander Rogue. It's got different matchups rather than worse matchups for sure. But I think when you average everything out, you do just end up with a slightly more consistent deck with the Secret Rogue, with higher potential for these massive blowout turns, as we consistently see with Hanar, Edwin, Questing, Jandis, all that good stuff. But it's still anybody's game now. I can see the Highlander Rogue taking the win for Bankyugi, as it has not been doing incredibly so far, but still not a disastrous deck, and it has to get the win.
Oh, with this opening hand, you could fool me into thinking this was a deck from many, many months ago. Bankyugi just gonna toss the Praise Galakron, even though it is an early game play, because you're not really looking to go for maximum invokes on Galakron later on. You just want to curve out and try and pressure down the Mage. For Tom, not surprised to see a full mull there. He wants those studies. He wants the lab partners.
And he's got a decent amount of that stuff to start off with. Apprentice AI, it's a somewhat slow hand, but with the Giant all ready to go, this is very possibly looking like a turn 5 Giant coming down for Tom, if not sooner, if he hits the evocation.
Already a question for Bankyugi. You tempo out the Hanar. It's very unlikely to die, obviously, but he doesn't have a secret later on.
Wow.
You have to ask, do you value the potential value later on more than the tempo? And honestly, I was going to answer no. I wanted the 1-4 on board, but Bankyugi says, I'm saving it.
Me too. I wanted it on board for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's in play at that point rather than in your hand, which is generally better. And two, you can just step it next turn with Miscreant in order to activate it. It's not ideal, but if your opponent doesn't play anything next turn, you would really like to have an activator.
Also, the Miscreant could have picked up, like these, at least an Ethereal Lackey, which has a potential of finding the secret. I don't think Hanar is a straight away drop onto the board if you had seen Lab Partner first on the other side, but it was a clear board. It seemed like a great opportunity.
Strong turns, though, still for Bankyugi. Even if we disagree with holding onto the Shadow Jeweler, it clearly has some benefits, and his hand is shaping out very nicely either way, with Jandis Step on the following turn available to come down. It's looking strong.
Gonna play it out now because, like you said, he does have good curve plays for the follow-up, so he just spends his mana. Didn't want to redagger over a deadly poison. For Tom, things are accumulating in his hand, but it's not quite enough spells really to justify the Apprentice.
So gain some spells. You can go Wand Thief, Wand Maker on this turn in the opposite order, ideally, just to try and set up for that big Apprentice turn. Maybe you draw Shenvala, maybe you draw Cyclone.
I was somewhat interested in Raz, but with the Deadly Poison already reloaded on the other side, it had very little chance of sticking. I'm trying to snipe the Hanar, but no! What? He added power to the board. That's unlucky.
He also added a Cult Neophyte to the other side of the board, which could just be Shadow Stepped on this turn and thrown down.
You're right. That's disgusting. What is this? That has to be the play. It's the Jandis with the Neophyte, the killer combo, which Mage hardly has answers to. Back to the... Okay, stepping Jandis.
Stepping the Jandis instead. Oh, is this right? I don't even know. It's like, it's a power play next turn. This sets up for a very powerful turn, but you could just make it so Tom has no answer for an entire turn here.
Yeah. It was enough damage to justify that, I think, by miles. And for Tom, he does have a decent response on the other side. Raz with the Lab Partner and Coin. I guess you don't even need the Lab Partner necessarily.
Ooh. I think this is now a Raz turn. If you go Raz here, you can then go Apprentice plus Shenvala, Coin AI plus whatever else you need on the turn as well.
I agree. Prior to seeing the Cult Neophyte take the value trade, I think there was still some merit in thinking about the Lab Partner with the Raz to go along, but now that Lab Partner doesn't even clear off an additional minion, it's a pretty clear Raz, and Bankyugi is going to go again.
Pretty good.
Wow, premium minions. I think I just want more attack and play. I was gonna suggest putting it on the Amber Watcher.
Yeah, I mean, Bankyugi has been a mind gamer so far already this season, and maybe he's thinking the same thing as you are. Lapidary is the one you'd think they want to stick around, which obviously gets interesting.
This is a relatively safe-looking board because he's seen the Raz already, but this is time for Tom to pop off. He still needs some help.
A little bit of help,
Cheap.
but AI can deliver. Tome of Intellect can also deliver in a one-mana spell is a big deal.
Evolving doesn't look great on this board. It has so many bad targets in the
that's true.
Netherwing that's damaged, the Jandis herself.
Whoa!
Wow!
Mirror Image and Ray? Is this a triple activation on this turn? It's possible, right?
It is, yeah, and he can get rid of the worst target for devolving missiles first with a Ray of Frost.
Obviously, Bankyugi has the response to this triple activation of Shenvala with Flick Skyshift, a card we've hardly even seen in the metagame, for a triple kill on these 5/5s. This game is going crazy.
That's pretty wild. It's such a big deal too that Tom was 1 mana off of being able to play the Giants for free too. The lab partner I think is naturally from his deck, so it wasn't possible. But it's gonna be the follow-up for next turn, which is absolutely necessary because Bankyugi has picked apart this defense like it was made of paper.
What he really needs now is another Shadow Step to be able to bounce back this Flick to his hand and destroy both the Mana Giants as well, which would be absolutely insane.
True. Thinking about the Lackey, because of course he has this Pole Celt, which can, you know, put the Hogwaggle sort of close to the top of his deck, but it seems far off enough that I do like just playing out the Lackey here, getting himself some more options for next turn. Oh, he has to choose between killing Apprentice and the Shenvala, though.
Shenvala, right.
Kill the... I don't know. I'll kill the Apprentice.
I think Apprentice as well.
Here.
Yeah. It's really close. Also, he just snap-picked Ambush, which I know does activate the Hanar in hand, but it is a lot weaker against these Giants, which could come down. Again, maybe you don't want to be going too much into cast division there, but could have been super powerful.
We'll see. Oh my gosh! Conjure's calling for Tom. Mana Giants for free. I think it's fine to leave this Cyclone stranded. I want my 8/8 to play. Ay. Not a great result.
Pretty weak, yep.
Another 8/8. He's seen Shadow Step, so the Flick is...
Wow.
Okay. I guess he's saving the Mana Giant for the Conch in hand guarantee. What is this top deck though?
Hogwaggle for the spell next turn. Not quite playable yet, but still a premium card to pick up now. This is going to be so close.
Derek, it's Pole Celt Wand next turn.
Oh! I didn't even see that! That's insane!
It's Alexstrasza, Galakron, and Bronx, I think, guaranteed for free next turn because he's already played Flick and Tog.
That's illegal.
Send this 12/12 face! I wish he could, but he can't. Oh my gosh. Mitch? Okay, this is one of the one costs because he's trying to make a Cyclone turn come together.
Oi,
Wow!
Yoy, that's good.
Yeah, that's a full clear and 6 to face, but honestly, I don't think it's gonna be good enough for what Bankyugi has cooking up next turn.
I don't know! Like, everything is so powerful!
We'll see. Okay, the Giant also comes... What? What? No! Tom gave him a Neophyte and now he gave him a Hanar? He can still deal with it, but it takes a lot of damage to do so.
Yeah, I mean, this Alakir has to start trading now. Yeah, Divine Shield into the poison, kill off Nar. Fine.
Okay, well, here's the turn. Pole Celt, Wand!
Oh,
Okay, it's not a free... Oh wait, that's a big deal now, because
That's a
Bankyugi was
horrible
relying
draw.
on the Krunks
yeah.
off of Galakron to be active. Oof.
Pretty much the worst draw in his deck. One of the big 3
Yeah.
bad ones.
So now he doesn't have the board clear. There's tons of damage on the other side, but Vendetta, Underbelly, still pretty good.
Oh, he could just get freeze right now off of the Malagos. I mean, oh no, wait, he's already played a spell. He can't get Flame Strike with the Malagos.
Oh, Flame
Next
Strike?
turn, Flame Strike plus Kalagos is completely insane.
Yeah, that just blows up their board. And then you go Vendetta this turn, you taunt up, and, you know, quite unlikely to die on the spot here, I want to say.
Super unlikely. I think he's just got enough.
Is your skin
Seen an Apprentice.
choose soon?
It's a bad one.
Gosh. Look at this turn!
Oh my
Bankyugi did
lord.
this in, like, week 1, I think?
Yeah.
With the Galakrond Rogue, it was not Highlander, so it was more designed to do something like this consistently, but he's put it together in the Highlander Rogue too. Okay, Apprentice. Magic Trick. Evocation?
Yeah, Evocation, Frost Nova. I'm not exactly sure what we're looking for, but it's got to be big.
Dome of Intellect, one more shot, and a big spell.
That's not
that.
it.
Ay, ay, ay.
We can go Mana Cyclone and bat ahead, I suppose, into the 4-5, trade one of the big dragons. I mean, maybe he thinks he just has to go face rather than even trading at this point. He's not dead.
Yeah, he's got all of these secrets as defense. I like the face plan. Batterhead can go face after it trades down the 4-5. Evocation into Fireball, Frostbolt, something like that. Or, sorry, double Fireball is his out for the next turn. But Galakrond, armor up.
Armor
Bronx.
being gained.
Is this just lethal with Bronx? Surely not with the Ice Barrier, right?
I think, honestly, even if it could be lethal here, Bankyugi shouldn't even be considering that. I think there's like nothing he loses to as long as he just doesn't die here, right?
Eric. There is no Solarian Prime, so you're correct. It's not in the deck!
His return is nigh.
Okay. Full trades. If you don't play a spell, you don't have to mess with the secrets.
Uh-huh.
Hulk out face. Out face. Needs oh gosh, I don't know. So many of his cards require one other thing to activate them, and he's only drawing one card at a time.
He needs Evocation.
Evocation!
Evocation into Freeze plus a Discover spell that can get Box or another Evocation.
I'm losing my mind. Wait. Freezing. He has Apexis Frostbolt. It's short.
He's got a lot of damage here.
He's got 11 from hand.
If he hadn't played the Galakrond last turn, Tom would actually have lethal here.
That's right. If he would see it, and I think this time he would definitely see it.
Yep.
What to do?
But there's Ray of Frost, Brain Freeze. He can stall another turn, I think.
Maybe just about. To what end, of course, is the question.
I don't know. Ray,
One,
Ray
two.
Edwin, Brain Freeze, one of these 6 attack minions. As long as he ends with double Frostbolts to face, I'm happy.
Right. Yeah, that seems smart. Just try and set up just some kind of way to get lethal damage next turn.
Oh, okay. Looks like he's gonna go single Frostbolt. If he had gone double Frostbolts with the Falnos to face, that would put Bankyugi at 7, right? So Tom had like a generate Fireball with Ping out.
Yeah, I mean, he's going with the other line of just trying to protect the 6-6 so it can go face. I think it's
Okay.
reasonable.
Yeah, reasonable for sure. Bankyugi can test the secret very easily with Seal Fate. Tap Falno seems very smart as well, but I still want to test with Seal Fate first
I agree. Yeah.
on a mirror image.
Because then you can sap it back right afterwards, which is just good to end your turn out.
Correct.
Still need a miracle for Tom to be surviving this one. And I don't think that's it.
Oh, what a game!
What a
What
game,
a
Gia.
game!
Incredible way for Bankyugi to be taking the win here. And with his Highlander Rogue, this is the deck that he and RDU both brought yesterday. It was the deck that withheld, that gatekept RDU from going through to the semi-finals. But now Bankyugi has the win with it, the all-important win. And now he's only a single game away from going through to the World Championships. Imagine how fast his heart must be racing right now. This is life-changing opportunities already for him right now.
It is so crazy. For Tom, too, if he turns it around, that's a huge storyline in and of itself. A returning player, competitor who could try and make the first many-time winner of World Championships in Hearthstone, that would be insane. But for Bankyugi, definitely all the focus is on him right now because the deck that we've been criticizing over and over has now taken a win.
Exactly right. Priest taken a win, Rogue taken a win, which means just the Mage left to go for Bankyugi. And what a way for us to end this season of Grandmasters in Asia Pacific. This has undeniably been, since the release of Scholarman's Academy, one of the absolute cornerstones of the metagame. We've seen other decks rise and fall, but Tempo Mage has just been there all the way, doing incredibly powerful things. Love it or hate it, it's here to stay for the moment. And I love it. I know that some people have their qualms with the deck. I just think it's so fun to play. I think there's so much room for experimentation, play styles coming into play. There's a lot of artistry in the deck that I think Bankyugi does have the ability to pilot incredibly well.
Equal parts artistry and clownery, I would say, but it really does take a genius to make sure that you can navigate through all of that madness and make sure you can optimize every single play. What you brought up about the deck is very true in that I don't think any player can play Tempo Mage perfectly because it would require just an insane amount of knowledge of the odds of getting any single spell off of any amount of spell generation, which the combinations are just infinite.
They truly are. So let's jump into potentially the final game of the finals, the final game of the year for APAC Grandmasters. It is
You asked for it.
Bankyugi trying to get the win now, coming out of nowhere, a complete unknown, and potentially going all the way through to the World Championships in his first season of Grandmasters. He's got himself a Solarian. He's on the coin, which you're going to be pretty happy about when you're facing down this hand from Tom.
It's big, and it already begs the question, does Tom have the right to keep Edwin when he's off coin? Tom says yes. That's, my gosh, that's like the 20th generous mummy I've seen this weekend. What is going on with these Pharaoh cats?
Yep, essentially deleted a card from his hand right there, as that is just unplayable against Tempo Mage. You will lose the turn that you play that if they have more than one card in hand.
I will crush your delusions of grandeur.
Slightly awkward for Bankyugi that he plays out Solarian because it's the minion on curve, but you do give up your Cram Session activator for the meantime. I think it's fine.
Oh, interesting here from Tom. I was kind of looking at just a 4/4 Edwin to keep the pressure rolling.
I was eyeing that up too.
And then he just didn't pick the secret as well. That was draw a 0-mana secret, right? That's insane in Rogue.
Sorry, I didn't see the options, but if that was Ancient Mysteries, I
Right.
was picking that every single time.
Yeah, exactly. That felt
The only
much better.
reason you can think of is he wanted the 4/4 Edwin this turn, so he took the 1-cost spell. But that doesn't seem like a strong argument.
Yeah, I don't think that stacks up especially well. You've got to trust your deck to give you something. And I mean, it could have just started the Hanar train, which is absolutely
Right.
insane. I think that was a very rushed turn there from Tom. It's time to slow
Me too.
things down a little bit here. Even if he thinks this is correct, which is fine, I just want to see more consideration in the play.
I agree. He has, however, built himself a very respectable board, to which Bankyugi has Jandis as an answer, but there's just already 2 1-attack minions preloaded for Tom to test.
Yeah, it's not the ideal Jandis board at all, but you've got to go for it anyway here, I think, to just start wrestling back. Venture Co Mercenary off of Jandis is sometimes a disaster. I think it's okay right now, though. He can spend enough of his mana on spells to not be devastated by this.
That's right, I would 100% put the illusion on the 4/4 here. The 6 health on this is actually quite annoying for Tom.
Right. That Shadow Step, though, is intriguing.
It really is. Because we could see
So
the Edwin
many
Shadow Step to become, I
Mm.
guess, a 6/6 here. That's not even that much. I think Tom would rather have some value.
I mean, he could go Font first, then hope to find a cheap minion and then Shadow Step it to get up to an 8/8, which is a bit more respectable.
That's true. I was thinking it would be the Ancestral Guardian. He's gonna go Font. Oh, Jandis!
Pretty good for next turn. Jandis Step is a big bump up in the power of his game plan.
Leaves up the Ventricle. I think it's also a big deal that he got the first guess wrong because that removed his potential for stepping the Wand Thief. Because he
Right.
had to use it to hit the other minion, but correct, that is a big, big draw. Value trade on the Ventricle. Two amazingly statted minions as well.
That is unbelievable. What a draw from Bankyugi. I mean, the choice of what you kill was kind of tough in the first place. That could have been a kill on the Hanar instead, but he takes the damage off the board, which in this case was absolutely right.
Yep. Tom has Jandis Step.
Ooh, that's pretty
Also,
good.
respectively statted minions. I do think he has to take double trades into the 6/5 just so it doesn't run over the 4/6 super cleanly. But Tom is losing the value war here for sure.
By quite a margin, he needs to be taking things aggressive for the moment, because with no card draw in sight, Hanar very likely to be dead at the end of this turn as well. Things have to turn around right now.
This is a bold value trade for Bankyugi. I think it's a pretty simple VT on the 4/6 and then Conch. And then he can freeze the other big minions.
I think he's taking the line of cheapening Mana Giant into Conjurer's Calling on that.
Okay. Not sure how I feel about that. I think he could really lock down the board this turn instead with the other way.
Yeah,
Wrong guess too.
this turn already feels like it's not working out the way Bankyugi planned. I feel like that was the wrong ping anyway, just because you can then take the 5/5 into the Spiteful Smith if it's the real one. Maybe.
Yeah, I was just looking at the line of ET with 6/5 and then Conch because you get a good board regardless of what the illusion is. Like, even if you don't find out, you can then freeze the 5/5 and the 4/1 remaining. But after he started with Primordial Studies, it got a little bit sloppy.
Yeah, not ideal there at all. And a secret found just in the perfect time for Bankyugi to have killed Hanar. Still a big card to get some value. But that is not good enough here for Tom as well. Stealth is nice, but this is still not game winning.
Not quite. His Plagiarize is the last hope. And to be fair, Bankyugi has a fair bit of resources that he would have wanted to expend this turn. And if he takes a slow turn, that's quite a lot of damage on the other side that he'll be taking.
Okay, now I want to see a big slowdown from him here, because I think there's a real possibility that this turn is just Ray of Frost ping pass.
Right, I think that's smart. Yep, he knows this is Plagiarize for sure now.
Yeah, I am completely on board with this. You give him 2 cards, not the end of the world. 5 damage to face next turn, still fine. He's in the driver's seat, still likely to come out on top this game.
Tom needs passage really badly. That's something, but it's really slow. Oh, like staring at this mummy! And it's so annoying!
Yeah, it's a disaster.
Realizing that he's losing the value war is not going to bother with the value trade, even though Cam Session and Raz are always scary. I think it's correct because he needs the damage to close out the game.
He's just letting rip with the Conjurer's Calling. This is scary. There's a lot of damage left on the board here.
That is actually not as insane as it looks, in my opinion. These don't line up well with Tom's board.
You can trade into the Plate Breaker, right? It's okay.
Yeah. The lab partner staying alive is a big deal.
It was a risky turn, though, from Bankyugi.
He's the Leerox. Miscreant. He needs the value lackeys. We're looking at Draconic, Ethereal. There's an Ethereal.
Not bad.
Secret Passage!
Secret Passage is huge.
Yep. Tapping Miscreant. Looks like next turn will be the Passage turn when he has the full mana available because he's already played an Edwin. Oh, you can evolve the egg! Yes!
That is so huge. That's a 6-drop from nothing.
Huh?
That too, sure.
I would have started with the egg and evaluate, but okay.
Agreed.
Wow. Tom is actually turning this around, but Bankyugi has no shortage of resources. Looks like
Yep.
an evocation turn, I agree.
We're looking for Flame Strike, Blizzard, any way to start mopping this up, and that is not it quite yet.
So, I was gonna say Apexis double missiles does quite a lot,
That's true.
but Apexis is super slow. I think it's reasonable to just search for something more efficient.
Oh, there was only one missiles though, right? That's Font of Power is the
Oh, my
other
bad.
one as well.
So Apexis missiles font, or he did end up just going one magic trick instead of
Yeah.
for font, which is better. Okay, good job, Bankyugi. Yes.
Oh, this is really starting to turn up the pressure now for Tom. He hasn't taken any damage in the early game. I think he might have pulled himself back into the lead this game.
Oh, but this turn is rough, right? Because you do want to get Jandis, but you're floating a fair bit of mana. If you go Secret Passage, the best outcome is Questing Adventure, I can only imagine.
Oh man, it's so
At
tough
this
to
point,
say.
even Neophytes are potentially super useful because Bankyugi is looking for
True.
a big Apprentice turn.
Give me a quest.
Oh, questing and another passage. Hello.
That's a big deal. Prep Passage at the end is massive.
Tom's already sending the attacks in, even though I don't think he's played the cards he's trying.
I mean, we can't even see. He
Yeah.
plays everything here, though, right? He's got Stunner
Yeah.
back to hand, Backstab to kill off the 1-1 as well. This is unbelievably strong from Tom, and Bankyugi does not have the answer.
An incredible comeback. Tom looked like he was so far off. He got the generous mummy, terrible outcome. He got the chromatic egg, terrible outcome, but he's pulling it back. Bankyugi needs Apprentice. There are 2 left in the deck. There's also a Prime in the deck.
Getting to that point very, very rapidly.
Even if there were Apprentice, the Neophyte is just the cherry on top.
Also means that
Expensive
AI...
to draw into Prime.
Exactly. He cannot even find the out anymore.
Oh wait, the Cram Session into Prime is playable.
Okay.
Ah!
Oh! So if he goes freeze, freeze, he's not dead on board?
Correct.
Technically?
And the board is locked.
Okay.
But then he would probably end the turn with a Cyclone. So it can unlock for Tom. Tom has 2 Eviscerates in his last 5 cards, so this is looking very shaky indeed, but...
I mean, it's
I don't
so
know.
likely game.
Mhm.
It's plagiarize as well, so he can even draw for an extra card from his deck off of the Cram Session. This does block a card from the top of his deck by playing the Cyclone as
True.
well,
Hand
so
is
it
too
could be an
full.
Eviscerate that's burned for the game.
Well, that Eviscerate was actually guaranteed. I mean, the passage was guaranteed lethal because
Right.
he would have gotten the Eviscerate. Funny.
So
He can still get it with the Cram
Cram.
Session.
Yep.
50-50. Oh, it's not over.
It's still
Okay.
technically not over.
Yeah, here's what I want to see. Secret bounces Neophyte after it attacks. Play the Neophyte.
Okay,
If it's
I mean,
not just lethal this turn. That's
which
right.
it now is. Tom with the Apexis Blast off the top, sees the lethal, sends us all the way through to Game 5. And Gia, I gotta say, I think they're from Bankyugi. Those middle turns there, that was looking a little too shaky to be taking down the likes of tom60229.
I have to agree. I think it got really tough when he had the Jandis lines in the middle. The first Jandis was amazing, and he could have started taking some more value trades. Of course, you feel like you need to hold on to Conjurer's Calling when you have a Giant in hand, but I think there is an opportunity to just use the board he already had and generate sometimes even more additional stats than Conjurer's Calling on a Giant. If you put it on a 6-1 and say it turns into 2 5/5s, that's a huge gain. And sometimes your 8-8 can turn into a 5-5 and an Alakir. That's a pretty
Yep.
bad outcome, to be fair, for Bankyugi. But Oh my goodness, for Tom, that was such a comeback. He looked like he was so out of it, and what a poetic way to close it out with an Apexis Blast lethal.
And speaking of poetic endings here, the final game, definitively, of the season here for APAC Grandmasters, Gia, it's the Mage Mirror. We've had some ups, we've had some pretty severe downs as well with this particular mirror here, as it can get pretty interesting with the cards that are generated along the way. We've seen some that I think are very, very skill dense when we're fighting back for the board in the early turns. When are we playing Shenvala? When's our pop-off turn? There's pretty discrete peaks and troughs in terms of your power with this deck. How you utilize that is very, very crucial. But then we've also seen some pretty ludicrous games where it comes down to Solarian and boxes in the late game.
Yeah, it can pan out with an early Shenvala from one player and no response from the other. It can be back and forth. It can be discrete mistakes that decided, and sometimes it can be primes and boxes. All I know is that Tom has entered his ultimate Zen state. And Bankyugi, always full of nervous energy, but I do think he is a very strong tempo mage player overall. Tom's opening curve looking really strong. Bankyugi also has a decent hand.
Yeah, very nice way to start off the decider here for our last two players. Tom throws away the firebrand there, and finding Shenvala is gorgeous for one of these early turns. Whether it comes down on turn 3 or is saved for a later pop-off, either way, a premium early game card.
Big draw off the top for Bankyugi too. It means that he has a guaranteed 1-drop this turn into 1-drop plus activator for 1 Thief the next turn. All the mana nicely spoken for. From Tom, I simply want to see Lab Partner into Cram Session hold the studies for the Shenvala turn.
And I think actually this is kind of why I wanted to see Spellwing on 1 from Bankyugi, because if your opponent goes for the play of Lab Partner on the other side, you can go trade Lab Partner missiles to try and get the clear on the other side. I don't know if that's necessarily worth it, but I am coming around more and more to just liking Spellwing on 1.
Depends. It's definitely worth thinking about. I do feel that Bankyugi might have still just ended up on 1 Thief activation.
Right, okay.
Guaranteed. Instead of trying to deal with the Lab Partner immediately. But, wow! Both hands!
This is getting very spicy, Gia.
Guess there's not quite enough spells for Bankyugi to really pop off yet. I think it's
Tome
full of
helps.
intellect and just hold it.
Yeah. He can reevaluate next turn. Maybe it's the Explorer, maybe it's the pop-off turn with Apprentice and Cyclone.
So for Tom here, it feels a little unintuitive first to use a spell before the Shenvala turn, but he actually gets 2 spells back from the 2 1 Thieves he activates with the Primordial Study, so I think this is correct.
First spell was fantastic. This second one, not so much. He's unable to get the double activation now, I believe, unless he picks up a cheap spell off the top with Shenvala.
Right. I think Claymore gets the most done.
What to do?
Mm-hmm.
What to do?
Okay.
Oh. Oh! Okay, he's still delaying for a turn here. Doesn't want to go all in yet. I can respect holding for the moment here.
I think it's good from Bankyugi. He doesn't have that much mana to work with, and this is also not a board that he necessarily wants to respond to immediately. I also love that he's like using a spell here because he's gonna have all of the spaces filled up next turn anyway with the evocation.
Just keeping the damage coming here. I like it a lot. tom60229 now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spells that he can play with Shenvala, so not quite the double activation yet.
Still strong though.
Still strong.
I will crush your delusions of grandeur.
3 Solarian. Another Solarian.
Oi, oi, oi.
I assume it's just kill the Azure. Yep, I like that. Raz is a little too scary on the other side if you leave that up.
I agree, but now Bankyugi, if he was waiting for development on the other side, just take a look at this. This is the perfect kind of board to respond to with Apprentice plus Evocation. Let's go.
Gonna have to be a pretty good evocation. Magic Trick helps. Another more curated shot at removal spells.
Nova's
It's
interesting.
expensive, but
Yeah, okay, I'm on board with Frostbolt.
Yeah, you can still play Cyclone. Oh my god, insane Tome of Intellect. This might not even necessarily be an evocation turn anymore.
So hard to say. Like, he needs to answer to this, and Evocation gives him a higher chance of doing that than Mana Cyclone.
It does, but you know, if you go evocation and then you don't necessarily have that many resources if you end with
Right.
Cyclone because of hand space issues. But that's so many one-cost cards. Am I dreaming?
That's
This
insane!
is all the one-cost cards.
Oh my goodness, he can get the Cyclone, he can get the clear, everything is going right for Bankyugi.
Time runs out on me.
It's only 3 cards that he doesn't get to play off this evocation. Who is this man?
An absolutely stunning turn that he's been building up for a while now. He put it off for 2 turns there in order to build up to something better, and this is significantly better than anything that Tom can do in response.
Dear Lord. I already think Tom's out is like Jandis into Raz plus Steward of Scrolls exactly.
Right.
Something like that.
I mean, it's worth bringing up that at this point, what would be fantastic is exactly Flame Ward. This Ice Barrier turned out to be a horrendous pick.
True. Easiest combustion of Bankyugi's life.
Insanely strong. Just play a minion, even a Pexis Blast face. Either way, it's going to be doing more than enough to win this game.
Oh, I hate to say it, but it feels like the end of the road for Tom. Is that an evocation off? Oh, no, it was purple.
Not quite. No freeze found yet for tom60229. Mana Cyclone can obviously get him that Frost Nova, but it's a single chance to find it.
I think he's supposed to go Solarian here instead
Right.
of the Cyclone. With the barrier, just hope you survive 2 turns and try to get Prime off the top. But then Bankyugi might not even kill the Solarian, so it's tough to say. Power of Creation. Well, he doesn't know the secret.
Yeah, he's first of all playing around the Flame Ward, which obviously we know it could be, both from Bankyugi's perspective and from our perspective if Tom had picked it.
I think you're supposed to just start with Arcane Explosion either way, and then send Apprentice Phase.
Really?
Because
Oh, I guess if it's Flame Ward, you can't
Right.
play the Power of Creation anyway.
Right. Because he doesn't know whether it's CS or Flame Ward.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. He gets
So
the damage.
if you are
phase,
going to test for CS, then you miss 2 damage. If
Sure.
it's not CS. Potentially.
Either way, lethal now represented very cleanly for Bankyugi. Tom has 2 draws on this turn. He kind of has to hit freeze to have any chance, plus Solarian Prime for next turn.
Yup. I don't think it works. Like, he can't get down the Solarian and discover a freeze and have the mana to do everything. Oh, there's a Prime.
I will crush
Do
your
you play to
delusions.
Doomsayer now off of Conjurer's Calling? Oh,
I think he's just playing to don't have 1 damage in hand, Bankyugi. Currently doesn't.
1 damage is what's needed. He could hit it here off Power of Creation. Doesn't
Only
hit it
Reckless
though.
Rocketeer.
Misses out on a 6/6 as well. Doesn't really matter. He's still just repping lethal on the following
Yeah.
turn.
Oh man.
I-
Of course, it ends with a Prime. Of course it does.
Oh my god.
It has to give a box
I
to.
can't even look.
It has to give. Oh, okay, maybe Ice Barrier counterspell. I don't know. I'd like the box to win.
Good start.
Not good enough. Not enough mana.
Oh,
Oh, it was so close. Wait, he has devolving
Devolving?
missiles?
if that can hit like a
Yeah.
dormant minion.
No, if it hits anything, that's vaporized that he generated, right?
Oh, right.
So just isolate and.
And I mean-
he's alive.
This is the punish for Bankyugi's play last turn. He didn't ping, and now he doesn't have lethal.
Correct.
It was pretty clearly, I think, a misplayed turn there from Bankyugi because he missed out on a 6/6, so it's not like he even found especially more damage that way.
Does he even need to devolve this since it's vaporized? I guess Tom needs to protect his board because he
Sure.
knows he's dead to ping in 2 turns. So the out is find lethal this turn for Tom. I mean, if he's not just dead.
Yeah.
Bankyugi scared of ice barrier here, I have to imagine. I think you can just go for Cone of Cold and ping.
Kobold is
You
cheap.
can, yeah, you can still just AI Cone of Cold ping.
Yeah, you ping on this turn. If you don't hit lethal, this is a ping turn.
Really?
Really?
No ping.
I mean, he has Pyroblast, I suppose, but even then, like, Counterspell is just like something that
Yeah. I feel like this gives Tom more outs.
I think so too.
Okay, so now he has Conj on a 7 drop. Does that do anything?
Draws
I guess
3
he's looking for
cards
Mana
first.
Giant instead. He needs Walking Fountain. Oh, what's happening?
I mean, he needs Counterspell 100% first of all, just to stop Pyroblast from killing him next turn.
Asian? Okay, I think Tom is just trying to set up lethal on board, something
Yeah.
like that, and the counter lethal next turn. It's hard to have a read on Pyroblast, to be fair.
And I think it's setting
But-
in for Bankyugi. He realizes all the mana used up, no Counterspell to stop it. Pyroblast is the card that closes it out. Bankyugi coming out of nowhere at the start of this season. None of us knew who he was, but he's done the impossible task. He's gone all the way, and he is our representative going through to the World Championships later this year. I cannot believe it, and more importantly, he cannot believe it. What a performance.
Wow, Daruk. I needed some moments to collect myself because Bankyugi even took off his glasses before locking in the lethal. I was so scared for a second, like, is your vision good enough that you don't misclick there? Obviously, Bankyugi's eyesight is still better than mine. I am blind as a bat. But that was extremely impressive to make it all the way as an unknown, just a non-GM prior to this season, make it to Asia Pacific, make it to Division A, win week 1 of Swiss, and close out the opposite end of the season with the highest of highs. Bankyugi is going to the World Championship.
He is. I think it says a lot about how nervous he was, because those last 2 turns he had there were definitely not the optimal way to close out the game, I will say. But whatever, we're still going to let him have it there. He is the champion, and I think he has consistently shown, not only has he been playing for the most part very, very well as a newcomer and an unheard player coming into Grandmasters, but he's also had an extremely strong amount of experimentation, which I love to see here in Grandmasters. And that has, for the most part, worked out pretty well for him. His Highlander Mage did pretty well for the most part. The Galakron Rogue, which he bought towards the start, did good. Highlander Rogue now doing well. Druid even drawing a ban in the Grand Finals, clearly making it a pretty decent inclusion up against Tom.
It's just so interesting to me now that we've seen Druid and Highlander Rogue win in the